All right, hello everybody. Welcome to How to Survive the End of the World, a practical approach. Today we're going to talk about personal survival. Some things that we're going to talk about today are being prepared for everyday life, training, planning and preparation, emergency action plans. We're going to talk about the outdoor essentials. We're going to talk about bug-out bags, everyday bags, and a field trip bag is an example of what I make my students take with them on field experiences. Last thing, we'll finish it up with making your own video. So I always talk about training in my videos. I think training is really important, and so especially if you're interested in, expanding your knowledge, especially in meaningful ways like CPR, wilderness first aid, EMT training. If you ever have the opportunity to take any of those courses, even if you're not particularly interested, they're definitely great skills to have, and they're going to help you out in your future, and they're going to help people around you out as well. Other things that I think we should continue to work on too are practical skills. I think in everyday society, a lot of these practical skills like cooking and baking, sewing, gardening, welding, auto repair, bicycle repair and maintenance, general home repairs, a lot of these skills we've kind of taken for granted, in recent years. And I think some of these things are really important. And in survival situations, those skills can also go a long way. If you're ever interested in any of those skills, I think YouTube is actually one of the best resources out there for, just kind of fixing stuff around your house or your car. Generally, there's somebody out there who's had the same exact issue on the same piece of equipment that you've had, and for whatever crazy the reason, they've made a YouTube video about fixing it. So if you are interested in any, fixing anything yourself, I think YouTube is a great resource. So in survival, we have this thing called the 6 P's of survival. Prior planning and preparation prevents poor performance. And so this is the idea that if we're going on a trip or vacation or a family event or hiking or camping or backpacking or whatever we're gonna do, if we plan ahead of time on where we're going, what we're gonna need, what we may encounter, what could go wrong, if we plan for all that stuff and we're prepared for it, it's gonna alleviate probably 90% of the problems that may actually arise on whatever trip you've got going on. And whatever, we didn't think about, if we're, generally prepared for dealing with emergencies, we're going to be all set if something does go wrong. So an emergency action plan should be required for any trip, so it's part of that planning and preparation. But it's basically just kind of a document that lets people know where you're going, when you're going to be back. It should have dates, locations, who's going to be there, any medications that you're on, any medications that group members are on, the make and model, color, year, and VIN numbers of any vehicles being used. I know that if I go on a trip, my wife knows what kind of car I have, but if I went with a friend of mine and she's like, oh, I know he was in, a black pickup truck, it doesn't really narrow it down. So that's why these kind of things are important. You should have copies of important documents, IDs, insurance cards for anybody who's going. Copy of your credit cards. I don't think that you need to pass out copies of your credit card information, but I think it's actually a pretty good idea for yourself to keep that information. So anything that I do whenever I go on a trip, I actually make a photocopy of everything in my wallet, the front side and the back side. And so if I was to lose my wallet, I've got all the bank information, I've got all my account numbers on a piece of paper, and so I could very quickly contact the banks and cancel those cards if something like that were to happen. You should have emergency contact information for all the members of your party, phone numbers for any kind of local authorities, local ranger stations, wherever you're going to be. And one thing a lot of people forget to think about is, do you have any pets at home, right? I know a lot of people, you can go away for a day or two if you've got a cat at home. But what happened if you actually, didn't show up for 2 weeks, or you got lost and nobody knew that you had a cat at home and your cat was just kind of stuck in the house for 2 weeks? So these are things that, should all be on our emergency action plans, things that we should think about, on any trip that we go on. All right, so let's take a couple of minutes and talk about the idea of the outdoor essentials. So outdoor essentials are anything that you should take with you on any kind of outdoor event, right? Whether it's hiking, backpacking, camping, any of that stuff. Basically, whenever you're outside away from your house, these are a good combination of things that you should have with you. And it's always going to vary by event. And so I've got this assortment of things here. I don't obviously carry all of these things with me every time I'm outside. but I definitely have access to them either in my backpack or in my car, or just kind of depending on what I'm doing. So very first thing on the list is our first aid kit. So I've got 2 of them here. I've got a smaller one, so I always carry something like this in my everyday backpack. I've got one of these in the glove box in my car. This is the larger one that I keep in my field trip bags when I take students out into the woods. This is the one I use there. Then I have an even larger first aid kit in my car. One of the things on first aid kits is we want to make sure that if you use something out of your first aid kit, you actually replenish it when you get back home. So it's not going to do you any good if you use any Band-Aids out of your first aid kit and then when you get back, you don't actually replace them. I think other things that are good to go in your first aid kit, right? Any medications you may need, right? There's just a vitamin B supplement here to remind me to talk about it. But any medications you may need to be successful, it's not a bad idea to keep an extra dose or 2 of that in your own personal first aid kit. Other things that I think are great in first aid kits, hand sanitizer you use to clean your hands, and just everyday use, right? Cleaning your hands is a good way to stay safe and healthy. Other stuff on our outdoor essentials, a flashlight. This is just a headlamp here. Doesn't weigh all that much. It's pretty small. I think they're really come down in affordability, so you could buy a nice headlamp for not that much money these days. And I think it's important to have your own dedicated headlamp or flashlight, and so not that you're depending on your cell phone, because in a survival situation, your phone is one of your most important survival tools, and just using the flashlight on your phone is really going to drain that battery pretty quickly. So having your own dedicated flashlight is going to help preserve your cell phone's battery. Next on the list, right, trail food, or just kind of like food or a snack. Just these Cliff Bars or whatever your favorite energy bar is. Not a bad idea to just throw an extra one of these in your backpack, right? Even if you've got food for lunch or dinner or whatever you're planning on doing, throw an extra 1 or 2 of these in your backpack, or your car, or your purse, and whatever you're doing. And if you need a little extra food, or you get stuck out there longer than you plan to be, you've got this as a backup resource. Next on the list is fire starters. So here I actually have a little fire starting kit that I put together. A couple of things I have in here, and I've got a flint that you can use with your pocket knife to actually make a spark and start a fire. I've got a lighter, and a couple other things I threw in here. I've got a pack of matches and some paper towels and some cotton balls inside of a Ziploc bag. So if I'm ever out doing something and everything's really wet, I definitely have some dry stuff that I could use to start a fire if I needed to. One of the things on fire starters, right, so if you have some hand sanitizer in your first aid kit, this stuff actually also burns really well, so you could use this to get a fire started in a survival situation as well. Next is some kind of a whistle or a signaling device. So a universal cry for help is like 3 short blasts with a whistle. And so great to have. And a lot of these things that I'm kind of touching on now, right, like the matches, the lighter, the fire starter, the pocket knife, a lot of these things you could actually just jam them right inside your first aid kit, and it's on this own little survival kit on its own. And so you don't have to have all these different things. Smaller versions of each of these things that you can fit inside of a first aid kit work really well. The next thing on our list is sun protection, right? So I'm filming this video from Florida. It gets pretty hot here, right? So I've got a hat, I've got some sunglasses, I've got some sunscreen. I think these things are all really important for any kind of outdoor events here in Florida. Another tip that I make my field students have is just an extra shirt. And it should be like some kind of a long sleeve shirt. Everybody loves the big Columbia shirts. But they are pretty pricey, and so what I always recommend is you just go to Goodwill or at a similar thrift store, buy a large men's shirt that's a size or two too big for you, and then you could use that shirt to cover yourself up, use it for sun protection that way. And at the same time, you can use it as a towel, an extra layer, whatever you need to use it for. You only paid a couple of dollars for it, so you're not going to be upset if it gets muddy or dirty or ripped or whatever. Let's see, what else we got? We have rain gear / extra clothing. So here, right, I have just a rain jacket. I actually keep this rain jacket in my bag. It actually crumples up into a small ball and fits inside its own pocket. And so this will keep me dry, but it's also an extra layer, right? So if I'm stuck somewhere and it's cold and I don't have a jacket or a sweatshirt, I could throw this on. And so it fits up pretty small, and I keep this in my backpack that I carry with me around campus every day. Some other things I've got with rain gear and extra clothing, just a simple bandana. You could use this for first aid, you could use it as a towel, you could use it as a mask, wiping your hands, whatever you need it for. It's pretty handy, and again, something super small, super cheap, pretty handy. The one thing that you saw fall down, this is actually just an emergency blanket here, so folds up pretty small, but in a survival situation, you could build a shelter out of this. You could use it to keep yourself warm. You could lay it down on the ground if you don't have a dry place to sit down or spread things out on. So these are really handy. They cost about $1. Fold up super small. So again, one of those things that you could just jam inside of your first aid kit, and you've got it if you need it. The last thing I had on that category of extra clothing, and something I've actually really like, is these mechanic gloves. They're usually like somewhere between $5 and $10 a pair. So if your hands are cold, it's a great pair of light gloves. Keep your fingers a little bit warm. But what I found, I actually use them a lot more for touching things that I don't want to touch. So I have a pair in my car that I actually use for if I see a turtle in the road or something like that, I could actually put them on. I don't have to actually handle wildlife, or if there's something sharp or something hot that I want to pick up, or if I move. These are really handy. And so again, something like this, you fit in your bag, you can keep them in your car. Great little things, only cost a couple of dollars. Next on our list, we have map, compass, GPS, right? So I know a lot of our phones have the GPS built into it. So this is actually a dedicated GPS. Not something you're going to carry with you every day, but if you're going on a larger trip, this is its own GPS, and you're not using your cell phone battery, and this is going to have a better signal than your cell phone. Map and a compass, right? So these are things, just kind of basic skills we should know how to use, because this GPS, the battery could die, the map on our cell phone could die, our cell phone battery could die. So if we know how to use a map and a compass to orientate ourselves to where we're going and where we need to be, that's an important skill to know. And so this is just a national park map that I threw in here, but obviously I'm not going anywhere for this video. But wherever you're going, it's important to have an actual accurate map of where you're going. A couple more things on the list, right? Insect protection. So again, I live in Florida, so it is pretty buggy here, so insect protection is a definite must. I've learned that you can't keep the aerosol ones in your car in the summertime in Florida because they will explode. So don't keep the aerosol ones in your car. They do make the non-aerosol pump ones that work out just fine in your car, and I also recommend just keeping it in a Ziploc bag if you're going to keep it in your car. But insect protection is a pretty good thing to have here in Florida. The last specific thing on the outdoor essentials list is water. And people always ask, how much water should I have? And the correct answer is you should have enough water for whatever you're going to be doing. One of my big pet peeves is when I do a field trip class and students show up with one of those 16-ounce plastic water bottles, and there's about 3 sips of water left in the bottom, and they say that's their water for the day. And it's definitely not enough to have for the next couple of hours outside in the Florida heat. So definitely bring plenty of water, probably more than you would actually plan to use. So it's always better to have extra water than not enough. And then as far as the rest of the outdoor essentials, this is kind of the standard list, but we're all different. We have different goals, we have different needs. So whatever you need to be successful in the outdoors is what you should have in your outdoor essentials list. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to talk about this idea of bug out bags. And so, basically what a bug out bag is, a pretty large backpack, and it's got everything you might need in for surviving the end of the world, or, getting from one place to another. And, I want to talk about why, it might be great for, say college students, but it's not ideal for, people in, family situations. So it's not great for somebody like me because, I have all my stuff in my house. I don't know where else that I would be better off going in a survival situation, other than to my house. And if I did have to leave my house, I definitely can't support my entire family or my pets out of a single backpack. And so I think it's not a bad idea for, say, like a college student, because if you're living in an apartment or a dorm, right, probably you have a better place to go, like your house or your parents' house. And so if you have a better place to go, having a bag packed where you can quickly grab it and, you know, get out of town, not a bad idea. Some things that I think are important that would go in a bug out bag for, say, like a college student: copies of hard drives, important documents. So, you know, if you get one of those, you know, small flash drives or an external hard drive or anything like that, and you were to put that in your bug out bag, that would be great. And I think, you know, some money to go in your bug out bag as well. So if, you know, your credit cards weren't working and the power was out, you had some cash to put gas in your car or get you some food to, you know, definitely enough to get you home. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at my everyday bag. So this is the bag I use on campus. I actually have two different bags that I use, depending on if I have a lot of stuff I have to carry around or less stuff. But one of the things, I don't like having a heavy backpack. So you'll see some people will have these massive backpacks with all kinds of stuff in it, and I've got a lot of things that I keep in here that, you know, kind of, you know, will help me out in like everyday emergencies. But I don't have a lot of stuff in here that like I don't need, because this bag I'm mostly just carrying around on campus, and so I'm on the campus, and so I have, you know, access to my vehicle, access to my office, access to a lot of resources on campus. So this is just kind of what I carry every day. So anyways, we'll take a look in it. If you open it up here, this is where I'd keep all my my paperwork and things like that. I used to carry my laptop every day. I try not to carry my laptop in my backpack because it is pretty heavy, but I do like to carry something, so I just keep my iPad in here. It could do almost everything that my laptop does. And then the very last thing that I keep in this main compartment, so this is the same stuff I showed you in my outdoor essentials. It's that pair of gloves that I had, my rain jacket, a bandana, and then I think I have an extra face mask that I keep in here. And so I just keep this in a Ziploc bag. The Ziploc is definitely seen better days. But I just keep this in the bottom of my backpack, and if I keep everything, keep anything heavy or, you know, breakable or anything like that in my backpack, and I set it down, there's always some cushion on the bottom of the bag. And, you know, I will tell you, this rain jacket has saved me lots and lots of time. So those are the things I just keep in the main compartment of this backpack. This little outside pocket here, I just keep an extra pair of sunglasses. I usually keep my ID badge and stuff in here, and sometimes I'll throw my wallet in there. The other thing, I just have some gift cards for Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks that people have given me. I just keep those in the outside pocket there, or, you know, a pen or a pencil or any other, you know, stuff that I use pretty handily. So let's look at this kind of this middle pocket. This is where I keep a lot of kind of the day-to-day things that I might use. So I've got a first aid kit. So like I said, this is a small first aid kit. I think this is actually just a reusable bag. I thought was kind of cool, but it's pretty small. So if I ever need an extra bag, I've got a little reusable bag in here. Other stuff, just some rubber bands and paper clips. I have a few dollars in quarters that I keep in my bag in case I ever need some change. This is a battery pack that I could charge my cell phone with, and then I have an extra charging cord so I could charge my cell phone. I've got a little plug that I could plug it into the wall, and I've got the plug that I could charge the battery pack with. So again, I always keep this charged, and if I ever use it, one of the first things that I try and do after I use it is charge it back up again. They'll hold the charge pretty good, so this is you know, one of them. I keep a multi-tool in here, right? It's the same one that I just showed you in my outdoor essentials video. Other things that I keep in here, I keep a small flashlight in here. This was my fire starting kit that I showed you in my outdoor essentials video. I do wear glasses, and so this is just some glasses cleaner and a case that I could wipe my glasses with, so I keep that in there. I do keep an emergency blanket in here. I keep some chapstick. I have some sunscreen packets here, so if I ever need a little bit of sunscreen, I've got a couple that I've gotten kind of a gift pack, so I just threw it in there. Here I just have some pens and dry erase markers and that stuff. I keep a handful of business cards in this pocket. I have a protein bar that I keep in here. Back here, this is just an extra glasses case with some glasses wipes and some lens wipes and things like that. So, and this is basically just stuff, you know, people have given me in, you know, gift boxes and stuff like that that I think are handy, and I don't want to throw them away, but I could definitely get some use out of. I've got some hand sanitizer in here. I've got a package of not disposable masks. So this was something the university gave to me when, you know, we wanted to make sure all students had access to masks. So if any of my students ever needed a mask, I had a stack of reusable ones I could pass out. Not reusable, disposable. Another thing, like I said, sustainability is, you know, big to me. So one of the things I keep in here, this is just a spork with an extra straw and a pair of chopsticks. So if I'm ever somewhere and they only have plastic silverware, I always have this kit with me. And in addition to that, I just have a little extra notebook, so if I need to write something down. And so that's my everyday bag. And if you know, kind of compare what I have in here to the outdoor essentials, I've got a pretty good assortment of, you know, things that can get me through any kind of daily emergency I might encounter. All right, so this is the last bag I want to show you guys. This is my field trip bag. So if you've ever taken a field class with me, you've definitely seen this bag. At this point, I've had this bag for probably about 15 years. It's been on 3 different continents with me, so it's kind of been all over with me. But this is the bag I use on my field trips, and you know, again, I'm not going to go into all the outdoor essentials and what I carry in this bag because it's, you know, similar to the other stuff, but this is a field bag. I try and keep this pretty light, but definitely keep what I need for the field trips. So one of the things that I require all my students to have is 2 filled reusable water bottles. But if they don't have filled reusable water bottles, you know, I would prefer these plastic ones, because if you are out in the field in Florida and you're going to take my class, you have to have water. And one of the things I always do is I always keep a couple of these in my bag, just in case. And I'm at the point where, like, I get so many of these single-use bottles given to me at different events and things like that. I try really hard not to use them or drink out of them, but I just save them on top of my fridge, and then whenever I need them, I'll throw a couple in my bag or my car, and I have them for an emergency. So we do that. Sun protection, you know, we've already looked at the sunglasses, the hats, stuff like that. In addition to sun protection, this is just, you know, it's kind of a knockoff Columbia shirt. I think my mom probably gave this to me for Christmas at one point. So I have this in there. And then the next thing I ask my students to have is either, you know, a small flashlight and a small pocket knife. And so, you know, this is my field trip first aid kit. So I've just got one of those, like, keychain style flashlights. I have that in here. I have a small multi-tool that I keep in here. I keep insect repellent. I keep that in my car. I don't carry it in my field bag, but, you know, we have access to that from my car if we need it. Other things that I tell my students to bring, I tell my students to bring 2 small Ziploc bags or a dry bag. And so, you know, the idea is that, you know, my field trips are always kind of rain or shine. And so sometimes your cell phone or your car keys, you don't want to get that stuff wet. So if you have 2 Ziploc bags, you could always double bag it. Or if you have a small dry bag like this, you can keep that stuff in there as well. Other things I tell my students to bring on field trips, again, field trips are rain or shine, so they make sure they have a rain jacket. They dress appropriately for the weather, so sweatshirt, things like that. Other stuff required for my field trip, make sure they have a clipboard, writing utensils, stuff like that. Sometimes we're in the water, so mask and snorkel, that's always optional, but not something that we're going to carry in our everyday field trip bag. Cameras, I recommend. We see some cool stuff, but most people use their cell phones these days. We have a field guide to Florida, and again, you know, we don't all want to carry that on the field trip, so some students are really into that, others aren't. So some people have it, some people don't, but if we have a couple of copies of them out on a field trip. It's great. And then one thing that I've learned on field trips and just kind of, any kind of outdoor activity, it's a really great idea to just keep a towel, spare change of clothes, and like a pair of flip-flops or some dry socks, a dry pair of shoes in your car. And so, no matter what happens on a field trip or any other outdoor event, if you get totally kind of destroyed by the rain or wet or muddy, you've always got something dry and warm in your car that you can put on when you're done. All right, so the last thing we're going to talk about today is your own video. So what I would like you guys to do is, again, introduce yourself and tell us what's new and exciting this week in your life. And then you're going to pack a bag, and then you're going to show us that bag. And that bag can be an everyday bag, it could be a school bag, a work bag, a purse. If you want to pack a Bugout bag, that's great. If you want to pack a gym bag. But right, the idea is that this bag should be personal to you, right? Something that you could use in your everyday life. So pack it, tell us what's in it and why you put it in there. And if anything's missing, right, if you don't have something that you think would probably actually be a really good idea, go ahead and just tell us what's missing. You don't have to run out and buy it for this class or anything like that. But if there's other things that you would put in there, tell us what would be going in there that you don't have and why you would add it. So other than that, I hope you guys are having a great week, and I look forward to watching your videos. Thanks. Bye.